Oh, it isn't said that I won't be back. This is just this bit and it's as long as I can hold out because it's quite exhausting, you know. Breakfast at Tiffany's almost looked completely different. The real Holly Golightly's story is nothing like the movie. Her glamorous lifestyle came from criminal activities that could have landed her in prison for decades. Truman Capote wrote a story about survival, exploitation, and dangerous secrets. Hollywood turned it into a romantic comedy with a happy ending. They erased the gay characters, removed the criminal plot, and completely changed the ending. What you're really watching is a sanitized version of one of literature's most controversial characters. The truth is much darker than you think. Truman Capote's novella, Breakfast at Tiffany's, took a strange and sometimes scandalous path before it became the classic we know today. In early 1958, Capote struck a $2,000 deal with Harper's Bazaar to publish it in their July issue. That would be about $23,000. Today, the plan even included photo spreads by the famous photographer David Addy. The editor asked Capote to soften what they called the tart language, but Capote refused, determined to protect his vision of Holly Golightly. She was an independent young woman living alone, hosting parties and spending time with many male friends. At the time, such a character was considered shocking. Even after Capote agreed to minor edits, the Hearst Corporation, which owned the magazine, decided the story was not suitable. They feared losing important advertisers, including Tiffany's itself, and suddenly canceled the feature. Capote was furious, and the decision sent ripples through the publishing world. Capote often said Holly Golightly came from a real person. In interviews, including one with Playboy in 1968, he described her as a 17-year-old German refugee who moved into his Manhattan brownstone during the Second World War. She spoke flawless English and fit easily into the city's nightlife. He claimed her habits, her sudden disappearances, and even her dreams all inspired Holly. At other times, Capote said she was Swiss, and he gave different names to different biographers. None of his close friends ever met this mysterious woman, leaving many to wonder if she was partly real or mostly invention. Over time, Holly Golightly became less a person and more an urban legend that Capote both guarded and embellished. After losing the Harper's Bazaar deal, Capote sold the novella to Esquire for $3,000, about $43,600. Today, he asked them to include Addy's photographs, but the magazine used only one. The story appeared in their November 1958 issue, creating instant excitement among literary circles. Just weeks earlier, in October, Random House had published it as a book along with 3 other Capote stories. The first print run sold out quickly. Reviews were glowing, and the unusual double release, first in a top men's magazine, then as a hardcover book, turned a near disaster into a triumph. Capote became not just a literary star but also a social celebrity. The success brought unwanted attention to newspapers called it the Holly Golightly sweepstakes when women across New York stepped forward claiming to be the real Holly. Some insisted they lived in Capote's brownstone, others that they shared Holly's love for cats. The boldest was Bonnie Golightly, bookstore owner and folk singer, who sued Capote in early 1959. She demanded $800,000 for legal and invasion of privacy, saying every detail matched her own life, including her name. Capote dismissed the case as absurd, and the press mocked it relentlessly. The lawsuit collapsed, but the spectacle only added to Holly's mystique. For years after, imitators kept surfacing, each eager to tie their identity to the famous character. The drama reached another twist when Pulitzer Prize winner James Muir wrote a private letter to Random House saying Capote had once told him Holly was actually based on a witty young woman from Montana. He even offered to testify in her defense if needed. But Capote feared this Montana woman might sue for money or attention. He ordered Machine to destroy the letter immediately, and Machiner complied. This hidden episode, revealed much later, showed how deeply Capote feared losing control of the story, and how fiction and real life kept colliding in the most unpredictable ways. The Hollywood version added its own battles. Capote wanted Marilyn Monroe for the role of Holly. He had written the novella with her in mind, even describing Holly's blonde hair with Monroe's look in his head. Monroe herself wanted to do it, but her acting coach Paula Strasberg warned her that playing a lady of the evening would harm her image. Monroe walked away, leaving Capote devastated. He later said, "The studio's decision made me want to throw up." After Monroe's refusal, stars like Shirley Mlan and Kim Novak were considered, and the director even changed from John Frankenheimer to Blake Edwards. When the part finally reached Audrey Hepburn, she hesitated, worried she was too reserved to play such an extroverted character. The search for Holly's partner, Paul Varjak, was equally unsettled. Jack Lemmon was the first choice, but his schedule ruled him out. Steve McQueen auditioned but didn't get the role, and Robert Wagner was also considered. In the end, George Peppard was chosen, though he was not a clear favorite. Reports later said his chemistry with Hepburn was sometimes difficult, but his performance defined the role on screen. Hepburn's experience during filming was far from easy. She admitted she felt terrified the entire time. She struggled with anxiety, slept poorly, and lost weight she could not afford to lose. She later explained, "I am not an extrovert. I operate on instinct. I did not think I had enough technique for the part." Capote's open disappointment over her casting only deepened her fears.